Of shorts, I think I've probably made over a dozen short films. Maybe half of those are on IMDb because they've actually gone to festivals and been released in some manner. And of my feature films, I've appeared in two of them. That's Lies We Lead and A Silent Agreement. And I'll be in the next one, my fifth one. So it's almost like one on, one off in a way. But that's all often been because the role which I've taken on is something which I wanted to experience.
Even in my venture now, what I'm trying to achieve with Flicks for Good, I believe to do it, I'm going to need to get some people to either volunteer or hopefully a number of people volunteer and help me on the journey, or some people to work, quite cheaply, and maybe some, that where it's kind of like I can't remember the proper term right now, but essentially, it's quid pro quo sort of thing where you're going, okay, well, you do the work now, and then once we raise the money, then we'll pay you there, and they take on board that risk. But I kind of feel a little awkward with how to approach people. So I'm interested to know how the conversations evolved, how you found those people, and I guess it transpired in a way where nobody felt like they were being taken advantage of per se.
I think the person that you're after is deferred payment. In the industry, deferred payment is a very nice way of saying you aren't getting paid, but I'll make you think you are. I personally never put that in front of my people. I never promise deferred payment because that might end up be how it goes. Something might go awry, and I'll say like I'll pay you later. It's in the mail. But I don't ever want to associate myself with the wool over the eyes that deferred payment is. If someone's going to get paid for their work, I like to say up front, and if they're not getting paid, more importantly, I say up front. I don't see the merit in confusing or misrepresenting what's being done here. And I think as a performer and a writer and all the other things that I am myself, I'm not adverse to creating for something other than financial gain. I've done theatre work, which I've never seen $1 for, but it's been a very fulfilling experience because I was given complete freedom to do what I wanted and what I needed in that time. When I approach people, I always give them the out. Is I never said to somebody, you have to do this for me or else, and it's never, this is unpaid. If you do it, then it's your own choice. If you're doing this unpaid, I can't assert over you the boss. I can't tell you what to do because you're there of your own good graces. But someone told me a few years ago that some people just are happy to give back something every now and then. There's a certain joy that comes from, you can tell when this is meaning something to somebody else, and you can give that away, and the goodness of that. And I felt that, never articulated it, but I felt the goodness of being there for somebody else, getting their stuff made without expecting anything in return. And once you can do that, not all the time, mind you, but if you find yourself in a position to be able to give back something without a reward or a payment in return, you get something in return which is much bigger. So I guess in a word, what I find on approaching people is just be genuine and be honest. Be prepared for them to say no, and don't bullshit.
Yeah. No, I like that. It's I guess, and that's probably why I kind of grapple with the whole thing of like not paying people. But I also do get the whole excitement and merit and learning and everything like that. Doing the stuff that I did last year with the Sunshine Coast Screen Collective, everybody went into that including, we had Bill Hughes with us because he's moved to the area, and he came on board not to be the honcho, just to share some of his wisdom. And I think he ended up being in the role of assistant director, and it was fun. It was a fun thing to do. You felt like you were kind of learning something, and that's the thing, isn't it? I think filmmaking, it's very much kind of like a leveling up kind of process, and chicken and the egg. And like, if you want to kind of get this level of experience, or this kind of credit, even you've got to sometimes do something for free, or what have you. So as far as because I didn't end up getting to your IMDb, which was a bit of a bummer, but it's I stalked you on LinkedIn, and I've got some other bits and pieces. But how many films have you written and directed, and then how many have you played different roles in?
I've produced 4 feature films. I'm currently in pre-production of my 5th now, and several others just beyond it, which are written but not yet in production period. Of shorts, I think I've probably made over a dozen short films. Maybe half of those are on IMDb because they've actually gone to festivals and been released in some manner. And of my feature films, I've appeared in 2 of them. That's Lies We Lead and A Silent Agreement. And I'll be in the next one, my 5th one. So it's almost like one on, one off in a way. But that's all often been because the role which I've taken on is something which I wanted to experience. And it's in The Lies We Lead, it was a lead role, but it was the least interesting of all 4 of the main leads. It was, I think if you actually timed how long each of the 4 of us are actually on screen, I was on screen much less than the other 3 because it wasn't necessarily his story. It was more about the 2 sisters, and we were their offsider mates, or their male companions. But for A Silent Agreement, it was very much my story. It was a stammerer, writer, filmmaker who meets a deaf guy, and so on and so forth. So I thought, well, who else could I possibly get to play this role better than myself? I've never seen a stammer on film that I believed, and often a stammer is in its very minute little ticks. So I thought, if I'm just performing as Davo, surely that will just come through naturally, and it did. And that in itself was very liberating. I was able to, as an actor, not ask for a second take or worry that I was stammering in my lines, because that was the very point of the role. So that's why I took that one on, not for my own glory, because it was just something which I thought I won't get the chance ever again to stammer openly in a film role. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty bold, move. Well, it's great to hear that you've got so much on the go. Let's I'll jump onto the share screen again, and let's play a little bit of your trailer, or your little sampler that we have here.
Every story, every idea is just a reaction to a stimulus that comes before it. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, sometimes they overpower the competition. However, everything is stolen.
So here's a key question. How have you been able to finance your films so far? Because I guess that's often the biggest barrier to people who are starting out and wanting to do things. How did you kind of make it happen?
I found that personally my films are risky, and they're not the kind of things which at least at this very point in time. I hope this changes, but they don't seem to be the most popular way of going about things. So I found that when I spoke to people about what I'm making, they could tell that I really believed in it and I was really passionate about what I was making. And to an aspiring filmmaker, a $1,000 check means the world to them. So it started off with that sort of like from a person of fairly well-to-do finances, giving away that much it wasn't nothing, but it wasn't a lot, and that was what got me started with. It's a very small amount, but I can make something really big with it. These days, I have a proven record of I make films on time with a I haven't blown a budget yet. I'd like to have the chance to blow a budget, but I haven't yet done that. And there's now a certain type of project that I make outside of Hunting for Shadow. So everything else I've made as a collective, people are seeing what my style is. And that's why I'm glad there was no money in Hunting for Shadows, because it was very outside of what I do. But everything else, there's a rawness to it, a grittiness to it, a lot of thought and heart goes into it. Some really big questions are asked, and they're not difficult films to watch, but they do get one to think. They get one to feel a fair bit, and there's a lot of heart and honesty there, which I think when it comes to someone saying, I have this fund burning a hole in my pocket, I want to give it away to some filmmaker somewhere, it's a lot more enticing for them to see somebody who is challenging the audience and still keeps an authenticity in what they're making there, because that should come full circle in the end there. And so far, all my work has been quite successful in that it's built upon something which isn't meant to pander to the mainstream audience. It's something which is a big question I've asked myself of my quarter-life crisis, or of my speech impediment, which some have called a disability. I never saw it that way myself, but that's perspectives. And I ran with this obstacle and found that the audience can relate to what I'm saying, and we build that rapport up. And I've not watered down any of the content to suit the mainstream audience. I'll just let people deal with what they deal with. And over the years, people have seen my work and they've come to me with very similar tastes, thoughts on the world, and values, and we've been able to build up from there. I just think how things are currently, I don't think I have much chance of getting funding from the government bodies, because I'm a fairly well-to-do, educated, white cis male, and there's a lot more in place for people who are anything but that, and that's a really good time to be alive. Which is, to me, I'm not being told I can't do what I'm doing. It just means that the world right now is opening their eyes up to more than just me. So I can go off and do my projects and get funded privately, and allow those funds to remain open for the disabled lesbians of color.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, there's definitely. I think there's a lot of good. It's not an easy thing to sort of tackle when it comes to looking at diversity and things like that. But I spent years working in recruitment, and I kind of got out of it just as the kind of diversity and inclusion bandwagon was really heightening up. And I'm quite glad in some ways, because I love people of all, colors, genders, sexualities, whatever. And I have a philosophy basically of, don't judge me, I won't judge you. And as long as people are kind, and for me, the main thing is if they're down to earth, really.